Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the second webinar of McMaster's Global Webinar Series. The 6 webinars in this series are aimed at helping prospective undergraduate students considering McMaster. I counted registrants from more than 30 different countries for this specific webinar, which is very exciting. You might feel a little bit overwhelmed right now, navigating this next big stage of your life. So I'm hoping that today's application to admission webinar really helps you better understand the application process at McMaster, and makes the whole thing a little bit less daunting. So just a few things before we begin. If you require closed captioning, you can enable that in the Zoom menu. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the webinar using the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen, and the recruitment team will answer as many as they can on the back end. The chat feature will only be used by us to post helpful links as we go along. So I encourage you to look at the chat for that reason, and then post your questions in the Q&A at the bottom. Okay, and the last thing, a recording of this webinar will be posted on our website in a week or so if you want to watch it again. So my name is Nicole Stanfield. I'm part of the Central Student Recruitment Team here at McMaster. Our office helps high school students pursuing their first year of undergraduate studies. Please don't be shy, connect with us. If you need any support at all, we are all here to help you. And I'll share all the ways that you can do that at the end of the webinar today. If you're looking to transfer into McMaster from another university, or you are a mature student, or you're interested in graduate studies, we are happy to direct you to those respective offices. Just let us know. Okay, so today we'll touch on the topics that you see here. The information is meant for all first-time undergraduate applicants, including those currently studying in Ontario, those in a different Canadian province, those in a different country altogether. The information will also be relevant regardless of your status in Canada. So we'll look briefly at our entry-level programs, admission requirements, important deadlines, as well as how to apply to a program, how to submit documents, and a little bit on how to apply for awards. I'll also talk about when to expect an admission decision and what you'll need to do if you receive an offer. There are probably many questions in your mind right now, so I just want to say before we start, this webinar won't cover everything. Have a look at our webinar series and see what we're going to be talking about each month. And then, of course, you can always reach out to us directly via email or live chat. I'll explain that at the end. I'd first like to begin by acknowledging that McMaster University is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations. Those who live, study, and work here have a responsibility to care for the land and share its resources with each other peacefully, as is laid out in the Dish with One Spoon agreement with the Indigenous people of this land. McMaster seeks a new relationship with the Indigenous people based on deep respect and honor, and it's important for those who join our community to understand this. So of course, as a prospective student, you'll want to explore our programs to find the one that's right for you, if you haven't done that already. I know many of you have already applied, maybe about half of you. But those of you who haven't chosen the program yet, these are the 25 level 1 programs that you can apply to right out of high school. The first 2 programs don't live within any one faculty, and the rest belong to one of 6 faculties. These are the ones you can apply to right out of high school, as I said. So you can see a little notebook icon next to some of them. These are the ones that require you to submit something extra in addition to your grades. So for example, an interview, an audition, written answers to specific questions. So make sure you're clear on the specific requirements of the program that you're applying to. Keep in mind that we also offer hundreds of upper year programs not listed here. So psychology, biology, accounting, political science, and so on. These are programs that you would start in your second or third year, so they're not shown here, okay? Now, each program has specific admission requirements, so make sure you meet the requirements before applying. The first thing is your admissions average. Now, the way we calculate this depends on the high school curriculum that you are studying, but basically, we use your top 5 or 6 grade 12 senior level courses, or for the Ontario students, your 4 courses, including whatever courses are required by the program. And then we see if you meet the minimum average required. If the program requires a supplementary application in addition to grades, that will be evaluated as well, of course. And then we also require a certain level of English proficiency. Now, averages and course requirements differ for each program, so to see clearly what you need, you can use the admissions tool on our website. This is a great tool that allows you to find specific program requirements according to the type of high school curriculum that you follow. If you follow a Canadian curriculum, you can select your province and then the program that you're interested in. And if you follow one of the most common international curricula, you can search by curriculum. Currently, the tool shows AP, American Style, British Patterned, or A-levels, CBSE, IB, and French Baccalaureate. If you follow your country's national curriculum, you can search by country to see some very basic requirements. However, the specific program requirements won't be listed there. In this case, please feel free to reach out to us directly so that we can help you one-on-one. If you study one of the international curricula that isn't listed in the tool, for example, one of the ones indicated here with the yellow arrows, our website's International Hub has additional information about some general requirements that you need to meet. Now, as I mentioned, we also require a certain level of English proficiency. Some applicants are assumed to be proficient and won't be asked to provide this. For those who are asked to provide it, these are the tests that we accept. Please have the test scores sent directly to McMaster from the testing center. You'll want to make sure the name, email, and date of birth on the test exactly matches what you put on your application to McMaster. That way, the test scores will be linked properly in our system. If the English proficiency requirement doesn't show up on your McMaster checklist, you don't need to do anything. If it does, and you believe that you should be exempt, you can simply write a short statement explaining why, and our admissions team will review it and determine if the requirement can be waived. You can see a complete list of exemption criteria on our website. Those in Ontario would email the statement to us, and those outside of Ontario would upload it to the McMaster applicant portal. And we'll look at those different portals shortly. Please note that Canadian citizenship alone doesn't guarantee exemption. And also that grade 12 English is a separate requirement. So it's not considered for purposes of exemption from this requirement. don't meet the minimum ELP, or English Language Proficiency requirement, but you meet all other academic requirements for a program, you might consider one of our bridging programs. So MELD is an 8-month program that you complete before starting your academic program. If you complete MELD successfully, you're guaranteed entry into the regular academic program. You also earn 2 degree credits. STEP is a 7-week program that runs in the summer before your academic program. So this one is for those with slightly higher, but not quite high enough language scores to meet the requirements of regular entry. Just like MELD, you'd be guaranteed a spot in the regular academic program in September after completing STEP. If you think you might not meet the minimum ELP requirement, we encourage you to apply to MELD. And then later, if you achieve a higher score, you may request to be switched into STEP or into direct entry, depending on the score. Okay, so applications to all Ontario universities are submitted through the Ontario Universities Application Centre, or the OUAC for short. There you'll find one common application for both international and domestic students applying to an undergraduate program. You'll be asked to fill out some questions, and then you'll be sorted into either Group A or Group B, depending on your answers. Essentially, if you're currently taking courses at an Ontario high school, you're under 21, and you have an Ontario secondary school diploma, or you're working towards getting one, you'll be in Group A. All others will be in Group B. So in the OUAC, if the program you're applying to offers optional co-op, you'll be asked to select co-op or non-co-op as a stream. It's a common question. No, this will not affect your chances of admission into the program in any way. This is just to gauge possible interest in co-op. You can actually change your mind at any time about co-op, and you're not tied to your decision. Similarly, you might be asked what upper year program you're interested in. Your answer will not affect your chances of admission or tie you to a certain path. Now, as for fees, the base application fee is 156 Canadian dollars. This gives you 3 program choices at any Ontario university. If you're interested in applying to more than 3, you certainly can, at an additional cost of $50 per program. There is a limit of 3 McMaster applications per person. There's also a $10 document processing fee for those studying non-Ontario curriculums. And some programs with supplementary applications may have an additional fee as well. Okay, so once you've submitted your application to the OUAC, you'll receive a confirmation email from McMaster. Then you'll receive a second email a few days later explaining how to set up your McMaster ID and access the McMaster applicant portal. It helps to make McMaster a safe sender so that the email doesn't end up in your junk folder. But yeah, if you don't see these emails, check your junk folder because they can end up there. The instructions in the email we send will explain how to activate your Mac ID and access the portal. Make a note of your student ID number and the barcode that you're given for future reference. And then once you activate, you'll be able to log into the portal in about 30 minutes. So we actually have 2 undergraduate applicant portals. One is for Ontario high school applicants, and the other is for everyone else. The link in your email will take you directly to the appropriate one for you. If you're an Ontario applicant, your portal will look something like this. The programs that you've applied to will be listed here, along with any requirements that you need to complete. Now, since high schools in Ontario will send grades directly to the OUAC, and then the OUAC sends them to us, you don't need to worry about that if you are an Ontario student. But if something like an ELP or a supplementary application is required, that will be listed here. If you're an applicant from outside Ontario, your checklist in the portal will look something like this. The checklist is created for you based on the information you submitted through the OUAC. So if you see something that's incorrect, like a school name or a curriculum type, please check the OUAC first and update the information there. Those updates are sent to McMaster automatically. We don't require official transcripts at the assessment stage. So unofficial scanned copies are perfectly fine, and this will be noted on your checklist. We only ask for those official transcripts after an offer of admission has been given. For your grade 12 transcript, you can wait until you have your final grades for the first semester courses before uploading that. And most of you won't have those until sometime in January, right? So that's perfectly fine. Most students are in the exact same boat. To upload the documents, there's a drop-down menu at the bottom of the checklist. Only upload a document once per checklist. You can see the documents that you've uploaded right above the drop-down menu. So if you're not sure, just have a look there. If the checklist item has a corresponding item in the drop-down menu, upload it to that item. If it doesn't, you can upload it to the item called additional information updated grades. Now, things like letters of reference or recommendation, personal statements, copies of certificates or awards, these are not used when assessing your application. So you do not need to upload those to the McMaster applicant portal. They may be required for scholarship applications though, and I'll get to that in a minute. So some last things to note about checklist updates. You're going to receive an email notification whenever something on your checklist is added or changed. For supplementary applications, depending on the program, this item may not be marked as received right away. But if you've completed it and you've received confirmation of this completion from either the assessment center or the faculty directly, you don't need to worry that it hasn't been marked as received in the portal. You can rest assured that that confirmation that you received from the assessment center or the faculty is enough. For the ELP requirement, this also may not update right away, depending on the type of test that you took and the way that you sent it. If you're unsure, and you haven't seen it update within a week, let's say, feel free to email us and we'll look into it for you. Okay, so let's look at some important dates and deadlines now. So essentially, all Ontario university programs will be accepting applications through the OUAC up until at least January 15th of next year. After that date, programs can and will begin to close. And this includes many of our bi-selection programs that require a supplementary application. If you complete your checklist of required documentations by the equal consideration deadline of February 15th, you'll be considered alongside other applicants who have met this deadline. For programs that require a supplementary application, as I mentioned, these deadlines vary, so make sure you know when the deadline is for your program. I've actually summarized those deadlines on the next slide, so we can have a look at those. And we'll talk more about scholarship applications as well, but just a quick note here that the deadline for these is February 19th at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. And then April 1st is the deadline to submit your documents. However, it is best to get them to us as soon as possible. Okay, so here are all the programs requiring a supplementary application and the corresponding deadline for each. You want to make sure that you're well prepared and you know what's expected of you. It's an important part of the application, so I really encourage you not to leave it to the last minute. Okay, so while you're waiting for an admission decision and you're feeling all nervous, you can apply for awards to distract yourself. And I'll talk about awards very briefly here since we have, limited time today and we're devoting an entire webinar to this topic in December. So we have automatic awards. You don't need to apply for those ones. You're just considered automatically. And we also have awards that you do have to apply for. We use a platform called Award Spring, where you fill out one questionnaire that matches you with the awards that you're eligible for. And then you can apply for the individual awards right from Award Spring. If you've already applied to a program right now, you can access Award Spring because it's open, and you can start applying for awards now. It'll close on February 19th at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. We're talking about scholarships and other ways to fund your education at our webinar next month. So it's on December 11th. So join us then if you're interested. Okay, so when can you expect a decision on your application? Typically, these start to go out late February to programs that don't have a supplementary application. And then they continue to be released on a rolling basis until about May. Programs with supplementary applications will be released between March and May, generally closer to May. And then when a decision has been made, you'll receive an email asking you to check the portal for an update. In the portal, you'll see the status update and a link to view your decision documents. Whatever the outcome of your application is, we will notify you by email once a decision has been made. We won't leave you hanging. If you receive an offer of admission and you're currently still in high school, well, first of all, congratulations in advance, but the offer will be conditional. So this means there are certain things you must do to keep the offer, like maintain a certain average, complete all required program courses, successfully graduate, and so on. The conditions will be stated very clearly in your decision letter. And when you accept an offer, you are agreeing to these conditions. Also included in the decision letter is whether you've been given guaranteed residence and how to secure your residence spot. And if if you are an international fee-paying student, you'll also see an admission deposit deadline. So admission deposits of 2,000 Canadian dollars are required from international fee-paying students. That admission deposit is just carried over and used towards your tuition when you start in the fall. If you've received any awards, you'll see a second letter called Aid and Awards Summary containing the details of the awards. And then, if applicable, you'll see a separate study permit letter in the portal which you will use to apply for your study permit. I know there probably are many questions about study permits. Our webinar in February will be hosted by McMaster's licensed immigration advisors, who will go over the study permit application process in depth. If you have questions about this topic before then, you can visit our immigration advising website, or you can email the immigration team for their expert guidance. And that's it. We've reached the end. So I really hope that you found this session useful and that you had some of your questions answered. Here are all the webinars in our series. Please do register for any you're interested in. We really hope to see you there. If you had unanswered questions, please connect with us. There are many ways that you can do this. So we have live chat for both international and domestic. And we have those chat hours every day. And then email, of course. So anyone studying abroad can email international@mcmaster.ca. And those in Canada can reach out to liaison@mcmaster.ca. You can also sign up for our newsletter through the QR code on the screen. And you can follow us on our socials at MacAdmit. And if you're close enough to campus, maybe we'll see you at our open house this Saturday. You can register for that on our website. All right. Thank you again to everyone for coming. And I hope that we see you at some of our future webinars. Take care, everyone.